Hello, everyone. My name is Joey Mitchell, and welcome to the first episode of my podcast, What the Puck, also co-hosted by Ben Schwarz, a junior here at Pomfret School. In today's episode, we'll be talking about everything from NHL to college, juniors, and even youth hockey. The topics can range from drama around the different leagues, as well as news to keep you all updated. I won't keep you waiting any longer. Let's get into it.
So, Ben, it's great to have you here on the podcast on the first episode of What the Puck. Is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, great to see you, Joe. Been a while. Always good to catch up. Really, some of the big news is Marner going to play back against Toronto for the first time in a while. What do you think about that?
I think it's awesome. There's a lot of speculation on whether Austin Matthews would be producing as well as he should be without Marner's help, but I think Marner's doing really well on Vegas. The Knights are doing very well. What do you think about Matthews' production right now?
Yeah, it's definitely dipped. It's been a little unfortunate to see his decline from that really excellent year that he had 2 years ago now, I think, where he almost had 70 goals. It was truly impressive, but you sometimes see how the playmaker really makes the goal scorer, and he definitely shows that.
He's sitting at under a point per game right now. Definitely, you can blame that a little bit on the people around him. Maybe his Leafs might not be doing as well as you'd expect them to be doing, but do you think Matthews is still the elite goal scorer that he is perceived to be?
Yeah, you can never really take away that goal scorer's touch that he has, obviously, but Marner currently sitting over a point per game, and Matthews sitting under is really just, it shows that the Leafs might have made the wrong decision, but we'll definitely get to see on January 15th when this all goes down.
For sure. And speaking of Marner and Matthews, that kind of brings us to our next topic about the Olympic rosters. Actually, were just released with Team Canada and the USA and Sweden, Czechia, France. There's just a lot of big names playing this year, and also a lot of people left off. Are there any big ones for you, Ben?
Definitely Connor Bedard. I think that's one we all expected to make it. Him, Nicholas O'Reilly would both be the two young guys coming in to make a difference on the team, and seeing him out of the mix is shocking. However, it's the decision the Canadians decided to make. They decided for a little older of a core. However, they didn't end up keeping O'Reilly. It's definitely very surprising.
Right. And honestly, what do you think about the U.S. defensive core? Do you think Werenski Jones is enough to help them reach the gold medal game and even win?
Yeah, I definitely think the D core of the U.S. is going to be a talking point throughout most of the Olympic Games. It'll definitely be interesting, but it's definitely not as big of a negative as the Canadian goaltending, which has been average at best. They do not tend to have very many great, except Logan Thompson, we can see really can make an impact and potentially take that starting job away from Jordan Binnington, which would be very surprising.
For sure. Personally, I think the biggest snub for me, would be Adam Fox for the U.S. I grew up going to Lake Placid to watch the ECAC championships, and he was on Harvard, and I always remember watching him play, and I thought he was the best player ever. He went on to the Rangers, and I believe he's the youngest defenseman ever to win the Norris Trophy, and I believe he did that in his second season too. And he's playing in the league with Cale Makar, Roman Josi, guys like that. It's pretty tough competition when you're your second year player in the NHL having these accolades. That's pretty impressive, and all of a sudden he's left off the roster. It's definitely a big blow, but
shocking here.
Maybe they have their reasons, but personally, I would have loved to see him playing for him in the upcoming Olympics. But how about the new 15-day transfer window? The NCAA just approved a massive rule change that shrank the transfer window to 15 days after the season. And this, it forces players to make life-altering decisions in just 2 weeks. How do you think that affects the sport? Is it good, bad? I mean,
I think this guy ended up being a positive for the sport. I think the transfer portal's really had players coming into college seeing themselves as finished products instead of a development piece, which is really what college is about, is developing them as young men, young athletes. And when they're constantly transferring place to place, it's sometimes harder to find your voice and what you need. And maybe they're missing out on great opportunities. I think, that 15-day window is still good for potentially a good player. If you're good enough, there's always going to be a team that's going to find space for you, but it's definitely interesting. And it's also helps what's been harmed by the transfer portal as a whole, because it lets new recruits come in, and that's really useful for the sport.
and I think that definitely, obviously the CHL rule changes had a massive impact on the college hockey landscape. I mean, that opens up the door for 300, 400 more players to be in the mix for American college hockey, whereas before, you have to make that tough decision. Do you want to go play juniors up in Canada and not be able to play college, or do you want to go to the college route? So definitely makes it tougher for a lot of American kids, and the transfer portal and all the NCAA rules that they're changing it's definitely shaping the game. I think it'll take a little time to see how things turn out, but I like the transfer portal rule. I think in the long run, it'll be a good decision. And then bringing us on to our next topic, I mean, I was scrolling on Instagram the other day, and I saw some big news about Tynan Lawrence leaving the USHL to go play for BU mid-season. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, it's truly incredible to see a lot of these young 2008 born players making their way into big college athletics and really getting to represent their schools as a whole. This is definitely another big shift. You also saw Carter Amico go from Boston University back to the United States Hockey League, and it's definitely a big swing time without a lot of consistency in where players are and are not going to be. However, I think for young 2008s and next year 09s, the draft eligible year, making that jump up to college has definitely been great for their development and their overall growth as players.
I mean, how do you think leaving juniors early affects their development? I mean, obviously, their agents maybe are telling them leave early, boost your draft status, and they're obviously trying to help them in that regard. But how do you think this affects player development?
It's 100% going to affect it. I mean, we've seen guys like Gavin McKenna who are consensus #1 overall picks. Even same with James Higgins just 2 years ago, and they go to college and they don't do as well as probably people would have expected because of the bar set by Celebrini and several other phenomenal players who've gone through college hockey. And I think it hurts their development. I think that players really should wait till after their draft year, but it's definitely their agents want them to go. They're just trying to, get that first overall pick, and sometimes you just got to take a big risk to do that.
For sure. I mean, while we're on the junior topic, how about the World Junior Championship that just happened over Christmas break? I mean, I was a little disappointed with the U.S.'s turnout, not even being able to make the semifinal game, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely just lackluster on the United States part. They really failed to produce at the level I think many of us hockey fans would have expected. And, the coaching, not having David Krall is a big change. He'd been phenomenal for the United States. So that's definitely unfortunate. And it's just overall, it's pretty unfortunate for the United States. They really didn't do what was expected out of them.
I mean, their roster on paper is loaded with talent. You got guys like Will Zellers and your Cole Eisermans and Cole Hudsons, and I just feel like they have a little too much skill and a little too much individualness to be in the contention for winning a gold medal. Canada, on the other hand, they're loaded. I mean, 13 of their 14 forwards on their roster are first-round draft picks, and they have the consensus #1 overall pick, Gavin McKenna, who's not eligible till this year. I mean, they didn't even make the gold medal game. I mean, what does that come down to in your eyes?
I mean, it was just unfortunate. They had a little goaltending drama, and they've all the talent in the world, but sometimes if you don't have the heart, it's really hard to win big games and big tournaments. And I mean, it's just super unfortunate to see, Canada fall short to Czechia year after year, and it's really starting to look like Czechia might be the better hockey country than Canada.
So moving on to our next topic, we can get into the youth hockey landscape here and a little bit about the neck guard mandate. USA Hockey recently, in the past couple of years, has been strict on neck laceration protection, mostly due to some of unfortunate events and tragic events that have happened on the pro landscape and even the prep school landscape. But overall, I think this is good for the game and protecting players. And you're seeing some smaller hockey brands start to emerge, some new companies like Duster, with cut-resistant clothes. But overall, I think it's good for the game to ensure player safety, put that first. I think the NHL is doing a good job, stepping up their efforts, and putting player safety first. And then we also have some rule changes where players from the 15U level in USA Hockey are allowed to tag up on offsides. I remember back in my day, we were, playing hybrid offsides, and it just kind of killed the flow of the game. But what do you think?
Definitely, it's a phenomenal change. Honestly, I don't know why USA Hockey ever changed the rule in the first place. We all know that certain things like that are just, really actually hurt the development of players. They never learn how to play the game properly, and it just not sure whether the rule is there. Same with icing on penalty kills. That should always be allowed. It's allowed in every other league except the USA Hockey. So it's good to see USA Hockey conforming with the rest of the hockey world.
For sure. And on a more serious note, I mean, with travel costs exploding, I mean, do you think AAA hockey is becoming too exclusive? I mean, obviously, as a parent, you want your kid to be playing the highest level possible, but what do you think is a reasonable boundary for these players to be using? Because a lot of parents are getting their kids into AAA by, as early as 8 years old. It seems like you have to be into that type of hockey to ensure your kid's on a good team by the U14, U15 level because of all the politics going around. But what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that a lot more states or overall areas are going to start adopting the system that exists in Michigan, where it's more local. You're playing for your hometown. High school hockey gets better because really AAA hockey, it's obvious, is becoming too expensive for the average person to afford. And, it's great for the game when hockey can be afforded by all. It makes, the countries better. It makes just every part of the game better. So I hope to see that there's affordability brought into the sport instead of just exclusivity.
For sure. And I mean, that's a great thing about prep school. It gives kids an opportunity to come to school, and if your family financially isn't able to support as much as they would like, there's financial aid options for families depending on the school, depending on where you're coming from. So I think there's a lot of other alternatives to playing AAA because at the end of the day, if you're good enough to play, you'll find a way. So to finish up here, we'll end off with a game called Puck Luck or Pure Skill. So basically, it'll be high energy and quick. I'll throw some heat at Ben. So basically, I'll ask you a question, and you're gonna have to answer Puck Luck or skill. So for example, I could say, first up, Mitch Marner and the Golden Knights. They're lighting it up, and Marner looks like a different player in Vegas. Is this just the honeymoon phase, adrenaline, Puck Luck, or skill?
It's definitely pure skill. I mean, Marner's truly a talent. We've seen it year after year, and it's 100% skill.
Okay, number 2. Team USA crashing out of the World Juniors without a medal on home ice. Was that a roster collapse or just bad puck luck?
I'm going to say bad puck luck. I mean, the U.S. was just loaded from bottom to top, and it's just really unfortunate to see that happen. Honestly, pretty unlucky that it didn't happen. I mean, 3 posts in elimination game, just, super unfortunate. I feel bad for the guys.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, sometimes the hockey gods just aren't with you. Third question. Okay. How about Connor Bedard returning to the lineup and claiming he can drag Chicago into a wild card spot by April? Is that confidence pure skill or is he banking on puck luck?
That's pure skill. I mean, it's a little delusional, definitely probably a little out of the what I'd see happening, but a confident man like that could make it happen. That's exactly what Bedsy does. He just goes out there with confidence and makes things happen. So if he can fix that defense, I could see it happening.
We'll see if you can pull it off. Thanks for your time today, Ben.
Yep, thank you, Joe.
Thanks for listening to this episode of What the Puck. If you'd like to listen to our other episodes or reach out to either Ben or myself, head over to our YouTube, What the Puck Podcast. I'll see you all in the next one.